I write spicy books where plus size women get their happily ever afters. And I really started writing this because it didn't really exist. If we throw back to like 2020 when we were all in lockdown, I was doing a lot of reading. And I found that in the spicy books specifically, a lot of the women were described as small, with tiny waists and little hands, and it instantly took me out of the stories because I was like, I cannot relate to this even a little bit. And I knew there were other women out there like me, and so I really wanted to create a place where we could feel seen, even in our fantasies.
Welcome back to Vaginally Speaking. I'm Allison, pelvic floor therapist, lactation counselor, and your friendly neighborhood vagina nerd. And today we're talking about something really fun, smut and getting in the mood. If you've ever thought, I just can't turn my brain off enough to be turned on, or I don't see bodies like mine being desired, this episode might be a little gift for you. I'm joined by Kelsie Hoss, also writing as Kelsie Stelting, but we're going to keep with Kelsie Hoss for the adult versions, okay? She is a best-selling romance author of relatable, heartfelt stories. She writes steamy body, positive rom-coms, and empowering adults featuring plus-size, imperfect women figuring out life one step at a time. Since 2016, she's published over 25 books, including the Curvy Girl Club and the Hello series, and she has sold more than 1 million copies, hello, and with over 25,000 five-star reviews on Goodreads. What I love about Kelsie's work is that her characters are real, they're curvy, they're messy, they're deeply desired, all the things that's real life. And in this conversation, we're going to talk about how romance, yes, the spicy kind, can actually be a tool to help you get in the mood, reconnect with your body, and maybe rewrite some of the stories you've been told about what makes a body feel sexy. So if you're curious about smut and you want a low pressure way to explore your desire, or if you just want a warm, cozy girlfriend chat about bodies and pleasure, I promise this is the one for you. So let's dive in with Kelsie. Kelsie, I'm so happy you're here. For the listeners who haven't met you yet, can you please share a little bit about who you are, what you write, and how you end up telling these beautifully spicy stories?
So as you said, my name's Kelsie. I write spicy books where plus size women get their happily ever afters. And I really started writing this because it didn't really exist. If we throw back to like 2020 when we were all in lockdown, I was doing a lot of reading. And I found that in the spicy books specifically, a lot of the women were described as small, with tiny waists and little hands. And it instantly took me out of the stories because I was like, I cannot relate to this even a little bit. And I knew there were other women out there like me. And so I really wanted to create a place where we could feel seen, even in our fantasies. I feel like so much of society wants us to be a certain size, and I don't think that that should translate into fiction even.
Yeah, absolutely. So my first question for you is, I have tons of patients and clients who come to me, and they're talking about challenges with libido and arousal and orgasm. And, we talk about a lot of different things. A big thing I talk about in the pelvic floor world is that the pelvic floor isn't just physical, it's psychosocial, emotional, trauma filled. And trying to find different things that tap into what turns us on in life. So how can you explain to women who say, I just can't get in the mood? What would your perspective be of like telling them to read a smut book, or how to use their imagination when reading a smut book? Because, I've listened and read quite a few, and, they get hot and steamy, and I feel like the trick works for me. So let's see how we can pass it on to our listeners.
I think when you're in your adult life and you are carrying all of these responsibilities, it can be hard to let them go and fully step into your body and enjoy yourself. So one of the things about a romance book that's so amazing is that you don't have to deal with all of that. Like it might be mentioned in the book that, you know, you have kids or you don't have kids or you have work, but you're not living in the day-to-day of it. In the book, you're really just kind of walked through that experience of falling in love and being attracted, and it kind of helps you experience it with the character.
What is your personal books that you write the least spicy, like a little welcome to the spice world? And the ooh, that's real spicy kind of book? Or do you feel like yours are more even keel?
So in the romance world, we have a chili pepper scale, 1 being mild and 5 being very spicy. And my books fall in that 2 to 3 range.
Okay.
So I feel like they are more welcoming to people who haven't read a lot of spice before. If you started out with a 4 or 5 book, you might be a little surprised. But that's what I love about my books is that the women feel like real women. It feels like it could be you or your sister or your friend. So it's not so much of a stretch of the imagination to put yourself in those spicy shoes.
Fun fact, I have a spicy chili pepper tattoo on my ass with my best friend. So when you were talking that, I just had to laugh because I kind of forgot that the Smut books were graded on spicy chili peppers. So yes. And you talk about the books of, you know, if you start with something really spicy and then kind of go to a different one. I'll tell you that my first book that I ever read that was super spicy, my first Smut that I was introduced to was definitely a 5 on the pepper scale. And in our book club that we have here in my community that my girlfriends and I are part of, it was the first Smut book that we introduced into the book club. And everybody was like, well, I shouldn't say everybody. There's about half of us that were like, that wasn't too bad. And the other half that were like, we're never reading Smut again. And I'm like, okay, we got to find this middle ground. So I'm like really excited to hear a little bit more about your books so I can introduce them to my book club, because I'll tell you the last book club I had it here, we did read a Smut book. It was called Forget Your Morals. And I passed out lube samples to everybody. It was like my favorite thing to do because everybody needs lube. So tell us a little bit more about your books. Like tell us more about the adult versions, not the adolescents. We could get into the adolescents, but I think most of our listeners are adults. So tell us a little bit more of what you want to share about your books.
Well, one thing I love about my books is that you get to see the women being described in a way that is flattering and feels good, because if you're like me, I grew up in the early 2000s, 2010s, and I feel like that formative time didn't really give me a lot of potential to describe my body in a positive way. You know, big people were described as like big boned or manly or beefy or, you know, even lazy. And so those are the words that stick in your mind. And so when you read a book like this, and I write from the male's perspective as well, so you get to see the hero say like, I love her curves. I love how full her body is. I can't wait to bury my face in her chest, or, you know.
Hell yeah. What's your favorite line? What's your favorite line to write?
Oh, my favorite word is cock. So there's that.
I love that. Your favorite word is cock. All right.
In my books, my favorite line is probably in my last book, I wrote, I'm done waiting. And I just feel like that was so sexy. Like, I'm done waiting back. I want to let it all go.
Yes. Okay. I love all of this. So if somebody who hasn't read them yet and they start to read it and they feel a little bit uncomfortable, what would you say to that? Because I've got my own version of what I would say if they feel uncomfortable, but what's your version?
I guess I would wonder what's behind the uncomfortability. Is it shame? Is it because you feel like you're invading someone else's bedroom?
Ooh, I've never heard of that one before.
Yeah, I think there's like a bit of a voyeur feel sometimes if you're reading about a different couple and you can't really get into the main character's head. That may make some people uncomfortable. So I would be more curious about what makes you feel like reading about a normal part of an adult relationship leads to that feeling of discomfort.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, you know, unfortunately, a lot of women will definitely jump to the shame aspect and feel like they're reading something that they're not supposed to be reading. And that would get me asking a little bit more about their upbringing, the culture that they were brought up in, possibly the religion, what has made them feel shameful about talking about it. But I also think that as women, because unfortunately we have a lot of patients and clients who come in who can't orgasm, that we're definitely changing the orgasm game here. But those that can't, they don't even know what that feeling is of almost this like arousal feeling happening, right? As you're reading something, you can be turned on by reading a book and you're not seeing anything. Your imagination is literally painting the picture for you. And that arousal feeling can feel very scary to people if they've never felt that before. So I think that can be like the fun aspect, but like a nerve-wracking aspect for people that have never read a smut book before. What are your thoughts on that?
That's a good point. If you haven't read it before, it could be surprising because it's common when you read a book, you feel sad with the characters, you laugh at certain lines. So it makes sense that you would also feel the spicy parts as well. So maybe if you're new to romance, it could be a good idea to read it maybe after the kids go to bed, when your husband has a guy night and it's just you. Read in the bathtub so you can have some private time and explore that without having to worry about being interrupted or caught or anything like that.
Yes. Don't take my lead. Don't listen to it on an airplane. I've been traveling a lot this year and I have listened to a lot of adult smut books on the airplane, but just like listening to them and I'm like, wow, this is like really spicy. Or I'm like, ooh, this strange person by me, like, wish that was my husband. Like, who is this, And then I also joke and tell people, I totally understand why people want to be part of the Mile High Club, but I'm also like, have you seen those bathrooms? Who is part of the Mile High Club? Because nobody can fit in those bathrooms. Like, I imagine the Tommy Boy scene when he's trying to get dressed. Have you seen Tommy Boy?
Yes, I love that movie.
Okay. I was like, if you tell me not, this interview is canceled, Kelsie. Tommy Boy scene where he's trying to change on the airplane and he just like breaks the door back. That's how I imagine a Mile High Club happening. So sorry, that was off subject, but that's what I think of.
I love reading spicy books on airplanes, when your phone's not charged or you're saving your battery or whatever. And I figure if anyone's looking over my shoulder, that's their problem, not mine.
Yeah. That's their fault. And then they're going to be like, what's that about? What is that about?
Probably.
Yes. What are some of the big things you have coming for 2026?
I'm releasing a brand new series called the Married series. It's arranged marriage.
Oh.
It's going to be so much fun. I'm really excited to share it with my readers.
Okay. When does it get released?
March 2026 is book 1 in that series.
Okay. And do you know how many books it's going to be?
I'm planning for 5.
All right. That's incredible. What made you want to go that route?
So my Hello series is all small town vibes, very like feel good, homey. And one of the most popular books in my Hello series is Hello Billionaire, where he's a billionaire and she's a single mom. And so I thought, well, give the people what they want. Bring in the billionaire vibes, bring in the corporate office workplace. There's some desk scenes, there's limo rides, all of the fun, spicy times with that.
Okay, I got to ask a unhinged question here. All the things that you've written about, have you tried them?
No, and that's why I write about them.
I love that. And that's exactly why I write them, because I want to try them someday, right?
Yeah.
You're going to have to like write out. You should do this as a marketing thing for the end when you're done with like, if you ever are done with your writing career, you could have like this check off and it's all the places in Kelsie Hoss's book, like all the sex scenes and reenact, and they get to check them if they've done them. Like, hello,
like
that just seems like a fun tease. Like challenge accepted is what I would say. I would be like, absolutely check. Like, got that one. Like the craziest place that I would say I have 2 really crazy places in my eyes that I have. One was in the middle of campus, like in the grass, where anybody could have seen us, but I don't think anybody did. And then the other one was in a fire truck.
Oh, I like that. I'm like, tell me about it so I can write it into a book.
Definitely started with going down the pole in the firehouse, ended in the fire truck. Could be a whole book. Listen,
see, this
we
is
all love a good firefighter,
right? This is a fun thing about being a writer, because there was one time a UPS guy came to my house and he was picking up a bed, and I said, "Hey, do you mind coming upstairs to help me because it's really heavy?"
Was he good looking too?
He was pretty good looking. And I saw the look flash through his eyes like, is this really happening right now?
He's like, wait a second. Am I getting tricked?
He was a little surprised when he got upstairs and there was actually a bed there.
Oh, he wasn't coming to pick up the bed, or was he?
Was actually coming to pick up the bed and return the bed frame. But afterwards, I'm like, okay, how would this have gone in the spicy world? So it's a fun way to like kind of safely live out those fantasies if that's something you want to be more exploratory about before you try it in real life.
I love that. Before you started, okay, you did say before you started writing that you were like reading books and just had decided that you weren't seeing the character you needed for your fantasy and imagination. How did you feel when you started reading, besides that aspect? How did you feel like reading them, or like what got you to like want to dig into them? Was it because we were 2020 and we're all going through COVID, or like when were you like, oh, I'm going to read one of these?
So I grew up like pretty solidly in purity culture, and the way that the trusted advisors in my life looked at romance, and especially the spicy scene, was that it was the same thing as porn. And so when I first started reading spicy books, you know, the stories would be really good and then I would flip through them, right? And I would kind of skim the pages and move on because that was forbidden. And then when I got married and started experiencing, you know, the spicier side of life and all that, I was kind of, I felt a little betrayed because it gave me a skewed view of what intimacy would look like in a relationship. And it left me no examples of what it would look like in a healthy relationship.
I like that point.
So when I started reading it, it was like the best version of sex ed, which is maybe not advised.
Listen, we know that we're not getting good sex ed out there. Okay.
Yeah. And so it gave me new ideas in a way that felt safe and ethical to me because, you know, obviously my views have changed around pornography, but in the beginning I was like, well, it's okay because they're make-believe. Everyone who's participating in this scene is consenting because they're a fictional character. So it just felt like a really safe way to kind of ease in and explore sexual intimacy in that way.
I really like that point because, you know, one thing that we talk about on what I talk about on Vaginally Speaking is that like in the sex ed that we think about, you know, you have sex, you get pregnant, you have sex, you get an STD, you have sex and you die. Like there's never like a healthy way to talk about intimacy and sex. And, you know, and from any point, you really never ever hear about the female side that should be a healthy version of intimacy, right? We usually only hear what the male is to expect to feel and the visions that they see and like the story that they hear, but not necessarily for females. And I feel like that comes from society, school, religion, whichever, you know, like I think there's just a mixture. And it's one of the biggest goals of Vaginally Speaking is to be able to empower women to unapologetically ask for what they need and to feel the things they deserve to feel, right? And talk about the things. So if somebody were to finish reading one of your books, what do you hope they feel in their body or they are able to see as they close that book?
My goal is that they just feel seen and loved as they are. You don't need to change to be loved. You don't need to change your weight, who you are, your past. You can just be accepted as you are.
Absolutely. So if a listener is going to take one step after listening to this episode to embrace their body, their desire more fully, what would you tell them the next step is?
I would grab Hello Single Dad
Ooh,
and
okay.
read it. If you get it from me, it comes with sprayed edges and all the goodies.
Oh, okay. Hello, single dad.
And if that doesn't feel like your vibe, I would Google short erotic story online and see what sparks your fancy.
Oh, short erotic story. Okay. Guys, these will all be in the show notes too. And we'll put a link to get to the Hello Single Dad. I don't know if we're able to put a link to short erotic stories or not, but I'll check with my podcast people. We'll see. Okay. So before we wrap up, Kelsie, where can people find you? Where is the best way for them to get to know you a little bit more, see a little more versions of your book, all the things that you do? What's the best place?
My website's the best place. It's kelsiehoss.com. Super easy. Or I'm at Kelsie Hoss on TikTok and Instagram. And that's where I like talking about books and all the things.
Beautiful. Okay. So we will have that in there, guys. We will have the Hello Single Dad in the show notes that you can go to. We'll have Kelsie's website and her Instagram handle. So make sure to check it out because we all deserve to be turned on and have a little imagination. No matter what we look like, who we are, we deserve that. So, Kelsie, I want to thank you so much for the conversation and for the words you create. I love that your stories remind us that it's okay to be imperfect and who we are deserves to feel loved, sexy, and aroused. For those of you listening, I hope this episode gave you your permission to explore your own desire in any way that feels safe and fun. Whether it's picking up this spicy book that Kelsie just talked about, better read some of hers before her launch in 2026 in March with her new series. We'll have everything linked in the show notes for you. If this episode resonated with you, please pass it on to your girlfriend, your mom, your aunt, your sister. We all need smut in our life, right? We all need to know that it's okay to feel turned on and to have an imagination from a book. As always, love and lube. We need that during this time with we're reading spicy books, right? And we'll talk next time. Thanks,
Bye.
guys.